And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it might be. Ladies, gentlemen, everybody else, other beings, welcome to Nerd Week Live here on YouTube, brought to you by us, the folks, or me, one of the folks, from Nerd Caliber. I'm flying solo tonight, as you can see. Lots of people out busy doing stuff, recovering from winter events, recovering from big cons. We had a big team down at Anime NYC last weekend. Hopefully you've started to see some of that. If you're here on YouTube and you follow us on YouTube, then you might have seen we've already got some of the video posted up from there, which is really cool. We got quite a few topics to cover tonight, but since it's only me, we'll probably get through them pretty quickly. And we're going to start right out of the gate, since I've got nothing to promote other than I always forget to do this when it's just me. I am Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber. I am first-person shooter as a cosplay photographer on Facebook, and I am Burley_adopter on Twitter and a couple of other places as like a tech journalist and doing other things. So having said that, we're going to jump right into the first topic because it's just me. If you have any questions, Deku, hello, and if you have any questions about any of the stuff here, or if you have any questions about anything, you can pop them out there. If they're not necessarily about this topic or about Nerd Caliber or something, I'm not sure that I'm going to get into it. Cat1, hello, Pennywise, hello, Sophie loves you, hoy. And welcome all of you. As you can see, as I just said, now that you're all here, I'm solo tonight. Got a lot of topics though, so a lot of things to talk about. Cat 1, I think I just did, unless I mispronounced C-A-T-T. Just did notice you, that is. And our first topic of the night is that image right there is from the latest trailer for the upcoming season of the show Marvel's Runaways on Hulu. And the news is, sadly for fans of the show, this upcoming season, which lands December 13th, is the last season of the show. The show was really good. It may not have been getting the numbers that Hulu wanted, but realistically, it's probably more a matter of Disney finally wrapping up all of its streaming shows and streaming products on any entity other than Disney Plus, and what it plans for Hulu and so on in the future. So there are going to be other Hulu shows. We've talked about them before. The wacky comedy stuff that they're planning that'll ultimately lead to the unified show called The Offenders. Howard the Duck, MODOK, all sorts of crazy stuff like that. Deku plus Ultra back at ya. All right, well, let's, waifu, or Pennywise, let's go back to that photo. So, Nico is the character with the glowing scepter with a ring. That is one of the characters of Runaways. At the end of the last season of Runaways, the other two characters appeared where Nico and the rest of the Runaways are, and those are the characters from Cloak and Dagger, the series that was on Freeform. That is Dagger with the glowing light dagger, and that is Cloak with the wonderful Kid and Play fade haircut. That was going to be just a fantastic crossover, and apparently it is going to be. The trailer makes it pretty clear that Cloak and Dagger at least will be in one episode of the upcoming season. But I was really looking forward to the idea of this as some sort of a crossover. Runaways is good. Cloak and Dagger is fantastic. That's already been canceled by Freeform. There will not be a season 3 of that. So seeing this trailer and seeing that they're going to get some exposure in Runaways was great, but it's not as, sadly, as exciting as it could be because Runaways ends after this upcoming season. So that's too bad. But once again, we're going to get, MODOK, Hitmonkey, Tigra and Dazzler show, and Howard the Duck, and the live-action Hellstrom series. The others are all animated series. The animated series will, as they say, come together in Marvel's The Offenders, but the animated series all roll out sometime in this coming year, in 2020. Deku says, Deku is excited. It's going to my first con as Dabby. I can't sleep. Well, try to get some sleep, one. And two, it's Tuesday. So if you're going to a con that starts like tomorrow, that's a big con. You should have a few days to get some sleep. I can't imagine you've got going to a con that starts tomorrow. Might happen. You never know. Yeah. So if you've liked Runaways, its last season starts December 13th on Hulu. Jump on it. Check it out. If you don't, check it out. I think it's a really good series. But R.I.P. as Cat One said, it's over. Pennywise, my stepdad said the other live-action Fantastic Four is trash. If you mean the most recent one, yeah, it's garbage. It's a horrible movie. It's I can't wait until Marvel announces whatever their plans are with the Fantastic Four now that they own the property again, because it can't be anywhere as bad as this last iteration that Jonathan Trank made. But moving on to our next topic, and it is not at all related to anything Marvel, which is, well, actually, it kind of is, now that I think about it. I said that wrong. This is an image from Star Trek Beyond, the last movie in the Star Trek J.J. Abrams, what has been called the Kelvin universe, the movies that have been made recently by J.J. Abrams. And the news is that, surprise, surprise, there will be a fourth Star Trek movie in this line. Paramount Pictures has already named who is going to be directing it and in charge of it, and that person is Noah Hawley, which, if you don't know who that is the man behind the brilliantly insane series on FX Legion, which was the story of David Haller, Charles Xavier's son, the mentally unstable, insanely powerful mutant that could literally alter reality with his powers. It was one of the trippiest series ever put on television. Noah Hawley is a genius. He's also been doing the Fargo series. That's a follow-up to the Fargo movie. And the fact that they put this franchise in his hands is wonderful, because every report I've read, and you can go find this information out if you go check, if you do some searches for Star Trek on like YouTube, there are plenty of people who know a lot more about the film industry than me who lay out just how this series of movies is basically essentially dead because Paramount can't get, two nickels to rub together to finance another Star Trek movie. It did so poorly, the last one. Deku's going to Dutch Comic Con. Deku lives in the Netherlands. Awesome. Thanks for joining the show. Guys, it must be stupid late there. So by my math, 8. It's 2 in the morning. I can see you can't get any sleep, as you say. Pennywise is in San Antonio. That's awesome. We're all over the place here. Anybody who's new to the show or hasn't been on enough when we've talked about it, I'm here on the coast of Massachusetts, where the rain is still, it's kind of drizzly now, but it's been dreary for days and cold. Yeah, my son was stationed in Poland for a while, so I kind of got used to the time differential there, Deku, trying to figure out when I could talk to him. So it's fairly simple math in my head. Anyway, there is absolutely no word about when this Star Trek movie will come out. They just named the director and the person that's going to be in charge of getting writers and everything together. So who knows? Hopefully it will actually happen. They are saying in this article on Deadline that Chris Pine, who has said he would not be coming back, will be coming back. Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, Simon Pegg, Carl Urban, basically the cast. So fingers crossed. I'd like to see it get into the hands of a really, really good director who hopefully can get a really solid writer and interpret that work. Because this last one wasn't that great. Anyway, moving on. So, trailer just dropped earlier this week to this, which is Hugh Laurie as the ship's captain in an upcoming HBO comedy science fiction series called Avenue 5. Hugh Laurie is, in this series, the captain of a space cruise ship, essentially. Kind of like the cruise ship going around Floston Paradise in Fifth Element. A little less ridiculous than that. But I looked at the trailer, and I love Hugh Laurie. I think Hugh Laurie is hilarious. He's one of the funniest and dramatic actors. I mean, his turn in House when he had to do dramatic work was fantastic. This trailer did not make me chuckle once. And I think the reason why is it's done by the guy who created the, admittedly, year after year Emmy award-winning series Veep on HBO, but the humor is essentially the same. Bitter, cynical humor. And you got to have some other characters to balance that out. If it's an entire series about bitter, cynical people, yeah, it wears out its welcome to me very quickly. So Pennywise, Avenue 5, like I said, HBO series, coming up in January, so you don't have to wait too long to find out whether you think it's funny or not. About a space cruise ship, and Hugh Laurie plays the captain of the ship, and it's all about the rich billionaire jerk that runs it or that owns it, and he's on the ship all the time apparently, and the tough as nails female engineer, the hard-nosed first officer, also a female. Just it looks like interesting characters. Not a one of them made me laugh. So, I mean, I'll check out the first episode on in January when it does hit HBO, but I'm not really holding my breath on this one, which is kind of too bad, again, because I really like Hugh Laurie. He is just fantastically funny. Deku needs to start a new anime or series. Any options? Deku, if you have the opportunity to watch Beastars, which I believe is airing internationally on Netflix, and if not, it will be soon. It's airing in Japan on Netflix, I think, already. It's fantastic. Pennywise, I'll answer your question in just a second, but I would just want to recommend Beastars. It is 3D CGI animation, but it's done by the same people that did Land of the Lustrous, and it looks so not like clunky 3D CGI animation. It's unbelievable. It looks like multimedia experimentation at times. It's just so fantastic. And the story is like, what would happen if you took Zootopia and gave it to Warren Ellis to write, the guy that wrote like Castlevania anime and things like that. It's dark, violent. It explores the relationship between herbivores and carnivores in a school of anthropomorphic animals like Zootopia. That's just wonderful. That would be my strongest recommendation. Pennywise, is it like Star Trek or Lost in Space? It doesn't read like either. It reads like Veep. It reads like a sitcom that happens to be set in space with really cynical people. So I'm not sure exactly which one you could compare it to of those two. But anyway, January 2020, HBO. Check it out or don't. So that image that just popped up for our next story here, that is your Prince Erik coming up in the live-action Little Mermaid movie from Disney. Not to be confused with the live-action on-stage Little Mermaid show that was on Fox or ABC or whoever did it. Actually, it must have been ABC because Fox wouldn't have had the rights. The actor is named Jonah Hauer-King, and I haven't seen him in anything. Apparently, this image is from he did a BBC mini-series leading up to war, the way to war. What the heck was the name of the series? Something about war. And it's basically the lead up to World War II from the standpoint of the British. Deku, go get some sleep. And thank you for thinking I'm a nice person. I'm sure there are plenty of people there who disagree with you. Anyway, he's going to be the live action Prince Erik. I don't believe, let me go back and look at my notes, but I don't believe we know when this is actually going to hit. But we do know that filming starts April 2020. So my guess is they might be aiming for a Christmas time release. That's a Disney thing. Or they might be delaying it and aiming for a blockbuster summer release in 2021. So either just about a year from now, a year and a month from now would be my guess, or 18 months from now in the summer. So just a quick note there. If you're looking forward to this live-action adaptation, that's your Prince Erik. We know, obviously, that Halle Bailey, not Halle Berry, Halle Bailey, young actress, is going to be playing Ariel. So we'll see how that plays out. The next, this may be a little bit more up the alley of some of our people here. That is obviously a scene from an episode of SpongeBob Squarepants, and the reason that's there is because of the blue guy with the multiple limbs. There is a rumor out there that there will be a SpongeBob Squarepants spin-off featuring Squidward because of this enormous deal that SpongeBob Squarepants did with Netflix. Or Nickelodeon did this deal with Netflix. $200 million multi-year content deal. Nickelodeon will produce a whole bunch of live action. I was reading your note, Kat. It threw me off. Will be a whole bunch of original animated films and series based on existing and new characters. The New York Times reports with authority that this Squidward series is one of those new ventures. Deadline, which is what I have here, couldn't independently confirm it, and apparently Nickelodeon hasn't said anything, nor has Netflix. So we don't know for sure whether or not there will be a Squidward series. But you can bet that something. SpongeBob is so popular. You can bet that SpongeBob intellectual property will be at the center of something if there's a $200 million deal there to develop content for Netflix. Kat said almost everything is becoming live action, certainly within the Disney catalog, and that is a choice by Disney. Five Nights at Jigsaw's is back. Welcome back. That is a choice that Disney is making, obviously, and it's all, it's money. They have content that doesn't require much in the way of rewriting to turn into live action product. All it requires is casting and direction. And of course, it has to be rewritten to some extent because of the limitations of live action versus animation. But not much. They don't have to go out and find a whole new property like let's look at the tale of Fa Mulan and make an entire movie right from the get-go about Mulan or something like that. They can, and in fact they are working on a live action Mulan as well. So from a Disney standpoint, it's it makes a lot of sense monetarily. Creatively, yeah, it's pretty sad. I've actually not seen any of them now that I think about it. Mainly because I'm not that interested. I could care less. Getting back to our story about Noah Hawley, the creator of the TV series Legion, the lead actor that played David Haller in Legion played the Prince and therefore the Beast in the live-action Beauty and the Beast. And he is a very good actor, obviously. To be honest, I'm excited for the new SpongeBob movie and Scoobs. We talked about Scoob last week, Jigsaw. and Byron was on with me, and we were both excited. Oh no, Gogo was on with me. Anyway, yeah, it was Gogo. And we're both very excited about it as well. The voices were throwing me a little bit. I'm so used to Matthew Lillard as the voice of Shaggy because of all of both the live action movies and the fact that he's done it in all of the animated movies since the live action. That Will Arnett, who is the voice of Shaggy in that trailer for Scoob, he's good. Um, and also the way that they are directing Frank Welker, who was one of the original voices of Scooby, to do the voice of Scoob in this is a little. I mean, obviously they updated the content a little bit, and I get that. Um, he's way more human in the nature of what he says, at least in that trailer, than I'm used to from, again, the older series, the movies, and then ultimately the animated movies. But oh yeah, and the new SpongeBob movie. That's true. It's been a while since we've talked about the new SpongeBob movie because there hasn't been anything new to update about it. Anyway, no release dates obviously because this deal just got signed, and it's all speculation about whether there will be a Squidward series. But if you are a Squidward fan or a SpongeBob fan, like Jigsaw, check it out. I love the IKEA joke because. So Jigsaw says, "I love the IKEA joke because I've been there. Where I live, I have a giant IKEA." The jokes, I thought they were funny. It's just having some of them coming that way out of Scooby sort of threw me. But yes, that was a very funny joke. There were a lot of very funny jokes. Um, Daphne's line about the villain being her dad was hilarious. As a Scotch fan myself. Anyway, moving on to our next one. That right there is, of course, Marky Mark himself, Dorchester's finest. Dorchester, Massachusetts, in case anybody doesn't know, is about 22 miles directly south of me on the coast. Dorchester's finest from here in Massachusetts. And the news is that he has been cast to play Sully, the main support character for Nathan Drake in the upcoming Uncharted movie, being made by Sony from their Sony video game. Victor Sully Sullivan, he's an American treasure hunter, as they describe him here, friend, mentor, and father figure to Drake. Tom Holland is going to be playing Nathan Drake, so it makes sense if they're going to have a sort of younger skewed Nathan Drake to have a slightly younger skewed Sully. And by the way, if you know anything about Dorchester or South Boston, Mark Wahlberg playing somebody named Sully is the most typecasting ever done. You can't throw a rock in South Boston without hitting somebody named Sully. But anyway, in the games, except in flashbacks, Sully is gray-haired, like me, gray beard, and I'm guessing they're not going to age up Wahlberg much because they don't need to, because you've got Tom Holland playing Nathan Drake, and he can be played younger. So this looks pretty cool. It's scheduled for a December 18th, 2020 release, which would be, again, a year from now, or a little more than a year from now, about a month and a year from now. I don't know if it's going to stick to that. That's a pretty tight schedule for something that will probably involve a fair amount of CGI. Jigsaw says, I'm planning on signing up for Disney Plus. I already have. I mean, part of it is for review purposes, and my review of the first episode, anyway, of The Mandalorian, for my impression, I guess, I can't say a review, is up on our website, nerdcaliber.com, so check it out. But what I was talking about, Uncharted, December 18th, 2020, that release date also is the release date of Denis Villeneuve's Dune, of a remake of West Side Story by Steven Spielberg, of all things. So I'm guessing that they're probably going to move it off that date. Give them more time to do the special effects and so on. You don't want to release, a video game movie up against the biggest expectation science fiction movie in decades, and a remake by Spielberg of West Side Story. I mean, that would be really, really, what's the word? Stupid. In my opinion. I am not a movie executive. I don't play one on TV. But yeah, so in theory, December 18th, I would say realistically expect more like a summer blockbuster type release for this. I would expect sometime after Memorial Day of 2020. Of 2021. Um, Speaking of science fiction, which we were speaking of for some reason, Mandalorian maybe? I can't remember. Um, that right there is a shot from one of the trailers, the previous trailer actually, of the upcoming Amazon, thank God for Amazon, series, The Expanse, Season 4. New trailer, an actual long, lengthy trailer, dropped just yesterday. It is amazing. It gives you more of the story of this new world that the cast of The Expanse is going to be exploring. This world that's being colonized. I'm not sure how much I want to give away. It's in the trailer. There are belters who have taken over a world out there in the stars. And it looks wonderful. The previous trailer that was shown at New York Comic Con, which I didn't get to see live, which ticks me off because I'm working too hard at New York. The previous trailer showed just absolute the money that Amazon is pouring into this, and I'm so excited for that. Jigsaw says, yesterday I watched Klaus, and it's fantastic. Klaus, and it's fantastic. And for anybody watching the stream, I recommend it. I'll check that out. I've seen it as I've gone into Disney Plus, looking to see what other things I might want to watch. Haven't watched it yet, so I'll check it out. Thanks for the recommendation. That was the movie Klaus, Klaus, which is on Disney Plus. If you have it, folks. Jigsaw, Five Nights at Jigsaw says check it out. Yeah, Expanse. I am so looking forward to this. I'm a huge fan of this. Anybody who's been on this YouTube stream anytime Expanse news has dropped knows what a ridiculous fanboy I am of this series. Because it is hard science fiction done right. When they get into the sort of ridiculous alien technology stuff, well, it's alien technology and you can do whatever you want. When they're dealing with realistic projections of earthbound technology and what it might be like roughly 300 years in the future, it's absolutely nailed it. From zero-G, from acceleration gravity, from magnetic boots, which they never fail to properly show locking in place whenever they're not under actual acceleration. It's amazing. Jigsaw's reminds us, or corrects himself, saying that Klaus is on Netflix, not Disney Plus. So anybody who has Netflix, go check out Klaus. I love The Expanse. It's December 13th, dropping the same time as Runaways season 3. So Expanse season 4. I obviously am going to be watching an awful lot of stuff on December 13th. And enjoying the hell out of it, I can tell already. If you are a fan of what I describe as hard science fiction, and you haven't been watching The Expanse, it's on. All the previous 3 seasons are on Amazon now. You can catch up. It's a fantastic story, wonderful characters. Just the addition of Bern Gorman to the cast as a very, very prominent character that was in the book that this is primarily taken from the whole series of books, and there's a whole bunch of books, is just wonderful. I've been a big Bern Gorman fan for a long time. I was reminded just Monday that apparently I've been a Bern Gorman fan since he was on Torchwood, and I forgot that he was on Torchwood. But Torchwood, Game of Thrones, of course, the Pacific Rim series movies. So, Expanse, December 13th, check it out. And our next topic, this literally just popped up like 2 hours ago. Nobody's going to get what this artwork is. It's, some white-haired dude in a white cloak. Could be a Targaryen, holding a flaming red black sword. This is cover art for a graphic novel adaptation of one of the Elric of Melniboné's stories or novels written by Michael Moorcock, and the news is that there are people who have bought the rights to the entire Elric saga and are shopping it around to be a series on some Amazon or Netflix or wherever, on some streaming platform. And these people are Glenn Mazzara, who was one of the showrunners for seasons 3 through 6, I think, of The Walking Dead, and also co-creator of the fantastic TV series The Shield, and the person behind Prison Break and Star Trek Discovery, or one of the people behind Star Trek Discovery, Vaughn Wilmot. I am so excited for this. If you don't know anything about Elric, in 1963, Michael Moorcock created this character who is sort of the anti-Tolkien elf, and created this whole series of books around a multiverse. And boy, does it get like bizarrely multiversal as the books go on. But Elric is one of the last members of a dying race of immortal elves, and Moorcock really explores the idea of what it would be like to be a member of an immortal race that eventually has to just get tired of having done everything that their world can offer them. His exploration, there are times in the Lord of the Rings books where particularly the elves talk about they will diminish and fade into the west, where you get a little bit of that impression about how it's kind of a sad. There's a little bit of a despair in the story of the elves in Tolkien. Despair and sadness is all that the elves in the Melniboné series have left, except for Elric, who has his sword, which is essentially a god of chaos in the form of a sword that eats people's souls, and feeds its energy to him to keep him alive. And the challenge of why that happens and how he deals with it and the moral complexity, it is one of the most it was emo to a certain extent before emo was even a concept, decades before emo was even a concept. It was so the anti-hippie movement, of all, flower power and light. This was dark, really amazing, completely counter to what was being written at the time kind of fantasy. So I am very excited, in case you can't tell, about this landing somewhere and being produced into a series. They literally just the announcement that these two people have picked it up and are shopping it as a series. There's no announcement about who might be interested, where it might go. I'm, again, hoping for Amazon or something like that, because as much as I love what AMC and FX and others have done for basic cable with some wonderful nerd properties like Legion, like Preacher, and so on, this would require lots and lots and lots of budget, of money, to be able to produce these just Elric's worlds, to say nothing of all of the worlds of the other eternal heroes that ultimately become the sort of multiverse. Anyway, it's way too complicated to get into. If you haven't read any of the Elric stuff, go check it out. This cover is actually from the graphic novel of one of the books, The White Wolf. But check them all out. They're really wonderful, fascinating interpretations of the sort of typical epic fantasy stories. And I really hope that this ultimately gets somewhere. Our next topic is a screenshot from the upcoming game that was just announced this last week. The game is called Tell Me Why. It is made by the same people that did Life is Strange. It's a French studio called Don't Nod, or Don't Nod, or however you would pronounce it, Dontnod. So I'm going with Don't Nod. And this was announced at the Microsoft's big Xbox event called X019. And no release date for sure. It will be sometime in mid-2020. It will be 3 episodes of the game released with actual announcements. So apparently Life is Strange, they did not announce exactly when each new episode was coming out. In this case, they will be announcing it. But the big news is that that guy in the jacket is the first lead character in a video game, or co-lead because they're twins, in a video game that is a trans character. Tyler is a trans man. Tyler and his sister are twins, and apparently identical twins until Tyler became trans. And not only that, the character, at least in the English version, is being voiced by a trans actor. And I think that's wonderful of them to, 1, include that kind of character, 2, to go out of their way to make sure that the actor portraying the trans character is in fact trans. Because one of the wonderful things about acting is, you get a good actor, and a good actor can do just about anything, but there are aspects of certain parts of a given life that has been lived that is really difficult for an actor to capture versus somebody who has lived that. And somebody who has lived the pain and the difficulty and the challenge of being trans in modern times will be able to do that at a way that a non-trans person just can't. So mid-2020, the article is saying summer 2020, so let's put it that. So I'm thinking probably July-ish. The first episode will drop, and apparently all of them will drop fairly quickly within mid-2020. So if you liked Life is Strange, and it was a huge hit, it's incredibly popular, won fantastic raves from critics, awards all over the place. It is very much a narrative, story-driven kind of adventure. It's not a first-person shooter. It's not a RPG. It's not a, it's a narrative adventure story. But if you like those kind of things, and you particularly like Life is Strange, check this out. I'm going to mute my mic for a sec while I wet my throat. So we are up to our very last topic. And this image is going to be very confusing about the topic. The very last topic is about Amazon's upcoming sort of Lord of the Rings. They keep calling it the Lord of the Rings, and I guess that's sort of accurate. Series. In case you're wondering what this is a screenshot from the game Lord of the Rings Online of the ruins of Annúminas, which was the capital of Arnor, the very first ancient kingdom of the Númenóreans once Númenor sank and the Númenóreans came to Middle-earth. And that was in the Second Age, so it's been many, many thousands of years, and since then, the capital sank, and they abandoned the capital, and the lake rose, and anyway. So if you play Lord of the Rings Online and you go to Annúminas, it's this ruin that is filled with water and all sorts of bad things, and it's really cool. But the news is that even though the Lord of the Rings Online, the Lord of the Rings based series on Amazon hasn't even announced a premiere date yet, it's already been said that it will get a season 2. And because of that, it's doing what apparently a lot of these types of shows do after they've been picked up for a second season, before they even air the first, is that what they're going to do is they're going to go on a 4 to 5 month long hiatus in between filming seasons 1 and or episodes 1 and 2 of the first season, so that they can write all of season 2 and then start filming all the rest of season 1 and all of season 2 right in one shot. And honestly, that's kind of the way Peter Jackson did it with the Lord of the Rings movies. The 4 to 5 month hiatus is apparently pretty long, according to what I'm reading here. That's not common, but again, they need to do an awful lot of writing. That also means that whatever they might have been planning on releasing this, it's the premiere date of that first season, it's probably going to be put off by another 4 to 6 months. So I was really hoping that we would we'd see it sometime in 2020. Right now, I don't think we're going to see the very first episode of this thing landing until sometime in 2021. It just doesn't seem to make any sense. Granted, it's only they're Amazon seasons, so they're like 8 episodes long. But it's set in Middle Earth thousands of years before the events of the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit movies. So there's an awful lot, a ton of special effect and CG work that has to be done. So you have to account for that. So that's one fantastic news for the series, and for those of us that are fans of the potential of the series, that we're going to get a season 1 and then a season 2 pretty quickly after that. Or probably pretty quickly after that, because they will be filming all the way through. But that also means that we're probably going to have to wait a little bit longer to see that first episode of that first season. And that's kind of a bummer. I'm a little bit sad about that, because I really am looking forward to this. I can't wait to see it. All the indications are that this is the story of Sauron when he was not known as the evil person he is, and as he was tricking people into making the Rings of Power, and ultimately setting up his whole scheme. And all of that's explained in various appendices and parts of the Silmarillion and so on, but it hasn't been fleshed out as a series or as a novel yet, and so this will be very cool to see how that all works. So I'm looking forward to it whenever it happens. And that's our last story. That's our last article. Thank you all for hanging in there. Thanks for the excellent chats and all the stuff that we were talking about in the chat. Let's see, where will we be? Our season is almost over. I was at Super Mega Fest this last weekend. We had a team down at Anime NYC. Super Mega Fest galleries are already up, or starting to go up. The Anime NYC galleries will go up soon. We're starting to get Anime NYC video up already. So check out our YouTube channel. Check out the website, nerdcaliber.com. We will have a photographer and videographer at Homat at Holiday Matsuri down in Orlando in December. For the first time we've ever had a team down there, so yay. Very much looking forward to that. Zephyr Link Productions. If you see Jake, if you see somebody handing out like Nerd Caliber business cards, run up to him if you're going to Homat and get your pictures taken. Jigsaw, welcome back. I'm just wrapping up the show, mentioning that we will be at Holiday Matsuri coming up in mid-December. And that pretty much wraps up our year as far as convention coverage goes. And I think our next con is a local con up here in Boston, or my next con for sure, is a local con up here in Boston called Arisia. Very old school science fiction and fantasy literature kind of con. Author guest of honor, illustrator guest of honor, fan guest of honor, things like that. And it's a lot of fun if you're into that sort of, very, very book nerdy kind of show. And then after that, probably Katsucon. We've got a couple of others leading up to eventually. PAX East is actually early this year, end of February, and then Anime Boston, and then more stuff as the year goes on. Oh, and if you are local or local enough that you can get to our own event, the Cosplay and Photography Expo, July 18th and 19th, 2020, it is a show all about panels and educational opportunities to learn and practice how to make anything in cosplay, perform anything in cosplay, or photograph or video cosplay, with panelists that are either multi Grandmaster Award winners in cosplay contests all up and down the East Coast, actually all over the country, and or some of the best-known cosplay photographers in the country. You will learn so much stuff. It's going to be in Mansfield, Mass, just outside of Foxborough Stadium, for all of you people who hate the Patriots. I'm a fan, of course, being in New England, but nobody outside of New England likes the Patriots. And it's super inexpensive, but the price is going up a little bit at the end of this month. So if you're thinking about attending, please jump on the website cape.nerdcaliber.com, Cape for the Cosplay and Photography Expo, and get your tickets right away, because you don't want to spend that little extra money once November 31st ends and December 1st rolls around. 30 days, November 30th ends. Got to get that right. So yeah, check it out, cape.nerdcaliber.com, and that's pretty much it for tonight. Luminous, either welcome to the show or thanks for lurking in the background and jumping in and saying Cape is a must. Thank you. Yeah, it's if you do cosplay at all. I mean, I'm a photographer, of course, so I'm a big fan of all the photography parts of it. But I understand that there are aspects of photography that are probably more difficult to teach somebody in just a couple of panels throughout the course of a weekend. The cosplayers can teach you tips and tricks that, you know, give you information about where to find stuff, etc., that you just can't get anywhere else. At least not all concentrated in one weekend. So get your learning on and have a lot of fun. Anyway, so that's it. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you all next Tuesday night, or as many of you as you can make it. And again, if any of you are in Orlando for Holiday Matsuri in mid-December, go find Jake, Zephyrlink Productions, and get yourself either some photos or videos or whatever he's doing at the time. Good night, and I